my name is Chanel Loggins and welcome to my channel. First, a little bit about me. I have been in the fashion business for 20 years now. I can't believe I'm saying that. This year will make 20 years that I have actively been in the fashion business, but currently I am a reseller mainly on Poshmark, and that is really the purpose of this channel. I have been reselling on Poshmark for over 10 years, but I started as a business in 2019, and since then I've had the pleasure to speak for Poshmark 3 times. Once at a Posh party, which was located here in Atlanta where I live, and then the other 2 times I was a speaker at Posh Fest. Recently last year at Posh Fest last year, and then during the pandemic I did it virtually. Recently, this past summer, they introduced a new program called Posh Learn, and they asked me to be a part of it, which I was so excited about because I love to teach others about how I made it on Poshmark. I was able to teach 2 classes, which in my opinion wasn't enough. I would love to do it, on a weekly basis, which is why I started this channel. I'm gonna be sharing with you guys weekly tips and tricks on how to make it in the resale business, not just on Poshmark, but anywhere you want to resell. Although I am mainly on Poshmark, I also resell other places too, and I will share with you all those other places I resell and why Poshmark is my favorite. So if you want to level up your Poshmark closet or get into the resale game, then I'm your girl. Today's lesson is just gonna be pretty simple, just how to get started on Poshmark or how to get started reselling in general. Whether you want to pursue it part-time, full-time, as a side hustle to make some extra money, reselling is a great opportunity for you to get into. I really started unintentionally, but I guess those are the best ventures, right? I had a boutique. I was a boutique owner for over 10 years. I was started out online, and then I actually opened a store in my area, and then I had to close it because I was also a full-time mom of 2 small kids. I had 2 under 2 at the time, and it was just a lot for me to handle. So I had to pick one, motherhood or my career. At the time, I was devastated. Oh my God. I thought that was the end of the world, the end of my career, but I loved my babies and I wanted to give them all my attention. I also wrote a book about my journey in the fashion business and my whole journey to reselling. So if you want to read it, it's on Amazon. It's called From Retail to Resell, How I Turned My Passion into Profit. Reselling was actually, I guess, meant to be for me because, like I said, I thought my career was over. I thought I was just going to be a stay-at-home mom, just raising my kids. But that's the beauty of reselling. You can do it from home. You can do it as a mom. I closed the boutique. I'm sitting at home, slightly depressed. I had all these boutique items that I needed to get rid of from my store. And I had now moved to the suburbs. I was not in the city of Atlanta anymore. So there was really no consignment shops around me. So I'm literally on Google, which is my best friend. I use Google for everything. Trying to find maybe the nearest consignment shop, somewhere I could get rid of this stuff. Somewhere I could sell all these clothes I had. And an ad for Poshmark popped up. I'm like, what is this? So I clicked on it. I read about it. I got more information on it. And that same day, I opened the closet. It was literally that simple. And it still is that easy to just start a closet on Poshmark. I was very intrigued, to say the least. I started an account, started out as Style Girl 06 because that was the name of my store. It was called Step Into Style. And I had originally started it in 2006. I threw some of my boutique items up on there, and like by the 24 hours later, I had sold them. I was locked in by that point. I was like, this is amazing. After I saw how easy it was to list items, to sell items, I started going through my actual closet to see because I was addicted by now. Because I had 2 babies back to back, I had a closet full of clothes that I really couldn't fit. Me finding Poshmark during the time I did, it was perfect timing. It was God sent. I started listing items from my actual closet. So that's where you can start. You can literally start a Poshmark closet, a side business with $0. What's the saying? One man's trash is another man's treasure. And that is very true. What you don't want anymore or what you can't fit anymore, somebody else wants it. Somebody else can fit. Fast forward a few years after me selling everything I literally owned almost, because I was like a junkie addicted to selling on Poshmark. I ran out of stuff in my closet to sell because if I kept selling, I wouldn't have nothing to wear. I started going thrifting. And I wasn't new to thrifting. I had thrifted before when I first moved to Atlanta because I'm from Mississippi and I moved to Atlanta right after college in 2005. So I started thrifting when I moved here and found all the great thrift stores they had. So that wasn't something new to me. It actually became a favorite pastime of mine. I love to go thrifting because I could find like designer stuff at a fraction of the price. And that was like orgasmic. I would get so excited. I started thrifting, looking for good stuff to sell. and it became a business. Boom, 2019, I started House of Chanel because I was thrifting a lot of vintage stuff because I am a vintage lover. So when I would go thrifting, I would find a lot of great vintage. So I was like, here's a thought. Maybe I should sell vintage. I had picked up a few pieces, and I had some vintage pieces of my own that I had thrifted like years ago. I put a few pieces on Poshmark just to see how they would do because, you know, at the time, there wasn't a really huge vintage market. So I was like, you know, let's just see what happens. And I sold out of that stuff almost immediately. And I kept getting questions and comments from people like, do you have more? We want more. A light bulb popped off in my head because I'm a businesswoman. I had a business before. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe I can fill a void in this Poshmark market where it's not a lot of vintage across this site. That's what I did. So there's a tip for you. So if you can niche down to something, that is a great way to make it in reselling. I sell all types of vintage. I sell regular size vintage. I sell plus size vintage because there is a huge market for that is untapped. I sell petite vintage. I am all inclusive. Then boom, 2020 happened and we were all stuck at home during the pandemic. Like everybody else, I was at home bored to death. I had all this clothing that I had thrifted sitting over here in the corner waiting for me to, you know, take pictures of it and list it on Poshmark. But now that I had more time on my hands, I'm sitting at home every day. I decided to actually start modeling the clothing, doing little videos in the clothing, and just showing my personality. I started putting it on Poshmark and boom, like my account blew up. Which brings me to my next tip about selling on Poshmark and getting started selling on Poshmark is to make sure you take good quality pictures of the items that you're selling. Before I started modeling the clothes myself, I actually had a white backdrop that I already had from my boutique, but you can get those anywhere now. You can go on Amazon. I had the whole professional lighting studio and everything. So I would just put my listings on the backdrop and just shoot them like that before I started modeling. But that is a great way to start. At least they're on a white, clean, crisp background so everybody can see. Make sure you shoot all the details of the product, any flaws. Even if you're just starting out and it's not in your budget to buy any props or any type of things like that, you could just use a white backdrop in your house. If you got a white wall or a solid color wall, or lay down a white sheet on the floor, or you can go to the Dollar Tree and get some poster board, tape some poster boards together, lay it out on the floor, and then shoot your items like that. Make sure you shoot all angles, any type of flaw there is, all the tags, they tell you the materials, where it was made. I mean everything, because here's another thing. You will get plenty of questions. People will come at you with a ton of questions if you don't include everything in your listing. I had to learn that the hard way. So learn from my early mistakes. Always include everything you can about the product so you can get the less questions possible. Also include measurements. I measure armpit to armpit. If it's like a blazer, a jacket, or a top, I always measure shoulder to the end of the hem, and I always measure sleeve length. Now, if it's like a dress or something of that nature, I'll do the waist, or pants. I do waist, I do hips, I do length, I do inseam, and the rise. Having all that information in your listing cuts down on questions and it makes it easier for your item to sell. Okay, so that was a lot to take in for today. So next up, we'll talk about what to do when you actually make your first sale and how to package it. My page isn't only going to be about reselling and Poshmark. I'm going to give you a little bit of everything, a little bit of fashion, a little bit of business, a little bit of lifestyle. If that interests you, then like and follow, and I will see you guys in the next video.